China is not holding back on the Venezuela crisis. Beijing condemned the United States for its military strike on Caracas and the capture of Nicolás Maduro, warning Washington against acting as what it calls the world's police or judge. In a sharply worded response, China's foreign ministry accused the Trump administration of violating international law, undermining sovereignty, and dragging Latin America toward dangerous instability. Chinese officials have issued at least 2 formal warnings since Maduro's capture, one at a public foreign ministry briefing in Beijing, and another during an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council, making clear that Beijing wants the Venezuelan leader released and U.S. military pressure rolled back.
Yesterday, the United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting regarding the U.S. military strike against Venezuela. The Chinese representative emphasized in their speech that military means are not the solution to the problem, and the abuse of force will only lead to a greater crisis. China firmly supports the Venezuelan government and people in safeguarding their sovereignty, security, and legitimate rights and interests, and firmly supports regional countries in maintaining the status of Latin America and the Caribbean as a zone of peace. China is willing to work together with regional countries and the international community to jointly safeguard the peace and stability of Latin America and the Caribbean. China has always maintained that all countries should respect the development path independently chosen by other peoples and abide by international law as well as the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. The major powers, especially the UK, are taking the lead. No country can act as the world's policeman, and no country can claim to be the judge of international law. China advocates a common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable approach to security, respects the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries, values the legitimate security concerns of all nations, and insists on resolving differences and disputes between countries through dialogue and consultation in a peaceful manner. This is China's proposal for addressing global security challenges and achieving universal and common security. We are willing to work with all countries to jointly uphold the authority of international law, oppose the law of the jungle, oppose interference in internal affairs, and work together to maintain world peace and stability.
Maduro, now held in New York, has pleaded not guilty to multiple federal charges. His legal team is calling the operation a military abduction, arguing his arrest on foreign soil violated international law and due process. Back in Caracas, power has shifted to Delcy Rodríguez, sworn in as acting president, even as Trump declares, "We're in charge."
And here we are, truly governing together with all the people. The legitimate government of Venezuela effectively rules in our beloved country. No one else. There is no external agent governing Venezuela. It is Venezuela. It is its constitutional government. President Maduro declared before a court that he is a prisoner of war, and they declared themselves for what they are, innocent, decent people whose immunity as head of state was unjustly violated, and, well, international law and Venezuelan law were completely disregarded. It is a painful path. Painful because of the aggression suffered, unprecedented in our history, unprecedented in the history of South America, an aggression of this nature. But the Venezuelan people are active. They are out on the streets marching. A people that does not give up. We Venezuelans are a people who do not surrender, who do not give up.
And it was an amazing military feat that took place yesterday. Think of it. An amazing military. The people are saying, well, thank you. You know, people are saying it goes down with one of the most incredible. It was so complex, 152 airplanes, many, talk about boots on the ground. We had a lot of boots on the ground. But it was amazing. And think of it, nobody was killed. And on the other side, a lot of people were killed. Unfortunately, I say that, soldiers. Cubans, mostly Cubans, but many, many killed. And they knew we were coming, and they were protected, and our guys weren't. You know, our guys are jumping out of helicopters, and they're not protected, and they were. But it was so brilliant. The electricity for almost the entire country was, boom, turned off. That's when they knew there was a problem. There was no electricity. Caracas, there's no electricity. It's not the only people with lights were the people that had candles. It was just off. So we sort of got them a little by surprise, but it was brilliant tactically. It was an incredible thing. But I watched where Schumer, he's such a bad guy. I mean, I've known the guy for a long time, and he's such a bad guy. You know, at some point they should say, you know, you did a great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Wouldn't it be good? I would say that if they did a good job. Their philosophies are so different, but if they did a good job, I'd be happy for the country. They've been after this guy for years and years and years. And, you know, he's a violent guy. He gets up there and he tries to imitate my dance a little bit. But he's a violent guy. And he's killed millions of people. He's tortured. They have a torture chamber in the middle of Caracas that they're closing up. But he's tortured people. But the United States proved once again that we have the most powerful, most lethal, most sophisticated, and most fearsome. It's a fearsome military on planet Earth, and it's not even close. You know, I've been saying it for a long time. Nobody can take us. Nobody. We don't want to have it. We don't have a discussion, but you read all and you see everything else. Nobody could have done that. Nobody has our weapons. Nobody has the quality of our weapons. The problem is we don't produce them fast enough. We're going to start producing them much faster. We're going to be very tough on the companies. We have the best weapons in the world, but it takes too long to get them, including allies. When allies want to buy them, they have to wait 4 years for a plane, 5 years for a helicopter. We're not letting that happen anymore. We're telling our defense contractors, you're going to start building faster. You know, guy makes... I have a big problem with it. I'm the king. I have sold more Boeings than any human being on earth. They gave me an award, Salesman of the Year. I said, what about Salesman of the in the history of Boeing? I've sold more Boeing planes than any man in history by far, probably over 1,000. Over 1,000 planes. I said, that's the good news. But why should they wait 3-4 years to get a plane? They should build them, get them immediately. The F-35s, it takes too long to get them.
For China, the message is unmistakable. This is not law enforcement. This is not diplomacy. Beijing says this is force, and the world is being warned where it could lead next.
On January 3rd, the United States brazenly launched a large-scale military strike against Venezuela. They forcibly detained Venezuelan President Maduro and his wife and deported them from the country. They declared that they would take control of Venezuela and even did not rule out launching a second, even larger-scale military operation. China is deeply shocked by the United States' unilateral, illegal, and bullying actions. We strongly condemn this. For some time now, the international community has repeatedly expressed grave concern over the U.S. sanctions, blockade, and threats of force against Venezuela. However, as a permanent member of the Security Council, the United States has ignored the serious concerns of the international community and has wantonly trampled on Venezuela's sovereignty, security, and legitimate rights and interests. This is a serious violation of the principle of sovereign equality. It is a serious violation of the principle of non-interference in internal affairs. It is a serious violation of the principle of peaceful settlement of international disputes. It is a serious violation of the principle of the non-use of force in international relations. These principles are fundamental tenets of the United Nations Charter. They constitute the cornerstone for maintaining international peace and security. The U.S. side has placed its own power above multilateralism and has prioritized military action over diplomatic efforts. This poses a serious threat to peace and security in Latin America, the Caribbean, and even the world at large. China firmly opposes this. The international community has also expressed grave concern and has strongly condemned it. We urge the U.S. to heed the overwhelming call of the international community to abide by international law and the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, to stop infringing upon the sovereignty and security of other countries, to stop subverting the Venezuelan government, and to return to the path of resolving issues through political dialogue and negotiation. We call on the US to ensure the personal safety of President Maduro and his wife. They should be released immediately. History has shown time and again that military means are not the solution to problems. The abuse of force will only lead to an even greater crisis. The United States once bypassed the Security Council to launch military action against Iraq and brazenly attacked Iran's nuclear facilities. It has imposed economic sanctions, military strikes, and even armed occupation on many countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. This has resulted in ongoing conflict, turmoil, and immense suffering for people's livelihoods. Venezuela is an independent and sovereign nation. It has every right to defend its own sovereignty and national dignity. The countries of Latin America and the Caribbean are an important force in maintaining world peace and stability and in promoting global development and prosperity. They have every right to independently choose their own development paths and partners for cooperation. No country has the right to act as the world's police. No country can claim to be the judge of international law. China firmly supports the Venezuelan government and people in safeguarding their sovereignty, security, and legitimate rights and interests. We firmly support the countries in the region in upholding the status of Latin America and the Caribbean as a zone of peace. We urge the United States to change its course, stop its bullying and coercive actions, and develop relations and cooperation with countries in the region on the basis of mutual respect, equality, and non-interference in each other's internal affairs. China is willing to work together with countries in the region and the international community to strengthen solidarity and cooperation, and to uphold fairness and justice, jointly safeguarding the peace and stability of Latin America and the Caribbean.